About our customer Farouk of Uganda law in history, where we say at A level, the first rule says you must write on 4 booklets and above. The second rule says never forget the first rule. So friends, honor the rules. So account for the collapse of dictatorship in France by 1793. So we are saying today, the Bourbon monarchy controlled France for over 500 years. But the year 1793, at the time of King Louis XVI, the monarchy came to an end. Of course, after the guillotining of King Louis XVI, big man was guillotined. I can tell you his head was cut off. So we need to understand the key reasons that led to the collapse of dictatorship. So the collapse of dictatorship in this case is the collapse of the Bourbon monarchy. But you must respect the language of the question. Number one, the effect of the peasants. It is said the peasants in France were 23 millions. The nobles and the clergy were 2 millions. But it is said that 23 million people were suffering. The 2 million nobles and the clergy were celebrating. So it is this that annoyed the majority peasants. They rose up in large numbers against the nobles and the clergy. And this led to the collapse of dictatorship in France. Then the effect of the American War of Independence started in 1776. We are saying today the American War of Independence, where King Louis XVI sent French soldiers to go and help the Americans get their independence. But what happened? When they reached there, they realized that the people they were helping, they were even far better than them. So by this time, under the leadership of Lafayette, a man driven with honor, immobilized the French and convinced them where they are helping the Americans, but the Americans even are better than us. So we are saying the American War of Independence opened the eyes of the French soldiers, and by this time they rose up against King Louis XVI, and this led to the collapse of dictatorship in France. Then the effect of the Catholic Church. We are saying today, the Catholic Church took people's land. I can tell you, land was controlled by the Catholic Church. The peasants were settling on the land, but they were paying rent. So we are saying the effect of the Catholic what? Church led to the collapse of dictatorship in where? In France. Because the majority of peasants were not willing to honor the Catholic Church. Then the reign of terror, 1792 to 94. Let me tell you, those people that took political power after rising up against King Louis XVI, Danton and Robespierre led to the reign of terror. They were killing anybody who was supporting King Louis XVI. So people stopped supporting King Louis XVI for fear to be what? To be killed. And this led to the collapse of dictatorship. Then the death of Mirabeau. What can I say? He died at a time when he was so much needed. I can tell you, Mirabeau was the only man who could talk to the revolutionaries and they listened. He used to tell the revolutionaries, don't kill the monarchies. And he could tell the monarchies, don't kill the what? The revolutionaries. But of course, his death robbed France of one important citizen. He said on his deathbed that I carry with me the last rags of the Bourbon monarchy. In other words, if I die today, the monarchy is also going to die. So when Mirabeau died, by this time the revolutionaries didn't have someone to tell them that don't kill the monarchies, and finally this led to the collapse of dictatorship in France. This is the kind of days where they say the untimely death of Mirabeau. He died at a time when he was so much needed. Then the effect of the revolutionary ideas, liberty, equality, and fraternity. We are seeing today the great philosophers like Voltaire, Montesquieu, through their ideas, led to the rise of liberty, equality, and fraternity. So the rise of these ideas led to the collapse of dictatorship. Because people are driven by the ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity, where they were saying we need our liberty, we need equality. And since the king was not promoting these ideas, this led to the collapse of dictatorship in where? In France. Then the influence of England. We are saying today, England was a monarchy, but for it was a constitutional what? Monarchy. So the French were like saying, how comes that England is a monarchy, but for them they have a what? A constitution. And for us we don't have a what? A constitution. So it was the influence of England that influenced the French to rise up against the Bourbon monarchy, hence leading to the collapse of dictatorship in France. Then the effect of the political system of France. It is said the political system was full of dictatorship, corruption, where few groups of people used to celebrate life and others were crying. So it is this that made the majority peasants, who were 23 millions, to rise up against the Bourbon monarchy, hence leading to the collapse of dictatorship. Because the political system was full of dictatorship. Then the rise of the revolutionary diehards, Danton, Robespierre, these ones were driven by killing. In other words, their hobby was killing. They were killing anybody who used to rise up against the revolutionary government. So we are saying today, the revolutionary diehards led to the collapse of dictatorship in where? In France. Because they started killing all of those who were supporting the Bourbon monarchy, and people feared to support the Bourbon monarchy. Then the character of Marie Antoinette, a woman driven by beauty. I can tell you, Marie Antoinette misused her beauty. She ill-advised King Louis the 16th at a time when great men were chosen, neck and taggled to solve problems. Marie Antoinette advised the king to dismiss neck and taggled, because neck and taggled were telling the king to decrease on the expenditure in the what? In the palace. So I can tell you, the character of Marie Antoinette made the French to hate the monarchy, hence leading to the collapse of dictatorship. Then is social stratification. We are saying today, social stratification, where we are saying the French were divided into three what? Classes. Nobles, clergy, and what? And the peasants. Where we are saying the peasants were 23 millions, the nobles and the clergy were 2 what? Millions. So it was social stratification that annoyed the majority peasants. They had to rise up against the Bourbon monarchy, hence leading to the collapse of dictatorship. Then the flight of Lafayette. I can tell you, the only man who was a lead example in this revolution. When he escaped from France, people feared, because by this time the revolution had to go into the leading hands of Danton and Robespierre. And by this time, these ones were driven by killing, which made many people to stop supporting the monarchy, and this led to the collapse of dictatorship. Then the attempted flight of King Louis the 16th. at a time when the revolution was succeeding. The king attempted to escape. They found him around the border of Austria and France, and Austria, trying to escape. They brought him back. By this time, even those who were supporting him had to rise up against him. Then the economic crisis. We are saying today, the economic crisis which came as a result of the extravagance and nature of King Louis XVI and the wife Marie Antoinette. You know, Marie Antoinette had around 500 maids. It is said Marie Antoinette could buy 4 pairs of shoes every week. And by this time, Dennis Richard, one of the lead historians, is telling us in his book that every tooth of Marie had a worker responsible for that tooth. I can tell you there were so many. Moreover, they used to be paid by the what? By the government. So the economic crisis also came as a result of the American War of what? Independence, where the king used a lot of money to help Americans get their independence. I can say helping couldn't be bad. But the problem was one, people are suffering at where? At home. So it is this that led to the collapse of dictatorship in where? In France. Then the guillotine of King Louis XVI. I can tell you, finally the French guillotined King Louis XVI. When the king was guillotined, his head was cut off. I can tell you, this led to the collapse of dictatorship in where? In France. Then the calling of the Estates General Meeting, 1789. What happened? The Estates General Meeting was the spark of the French Revolution, where I can say, when the Estates General Meeting was called, the king disagreed with the peasants. They disagreed on the seating procedure. By this time, the peasants went and sat in the tennis court because the king told them that you go back because you are going to paint the building where the meeting is going to take place. They went and sat in the tennis court. They said, we are not going to move from here, except the bayonet will make us move from what? From here. By this time, they started storming the Bastille prison. Women marched to Versailles, demanding for the decrease in the price of what? Bread. By the way, when they wanted decrease in the price of bread, Marie Antoinette, they told Marie Antoinette to decrease on the price of bread. Marie told them, if bread is expensive, try cakes. By this time, a revolution had started. So I can tell you, we are saying the year 1793 led to the collapse of dictatorship in where? In France. One time King Louis XVI said, I'm the state and the state is me. He said that thing is legal because I wish it. But by 1793, the monarch had to come to an what? To an end. So